Side-scrolling games have always had a special way of pulling us into their worlds, not just through tight gameplay, but through stories that stick with you long after the screen fades to black. In 2025, this genre is stronger than ever, with unforgettable worlds and finely tuned mechanics you simply should not skip. So, if you love games with some side-scrolling action, you're in the right place. Let's dive into 17 absolute must-plays. Hollow Knight. We're kicking things off in a fallen kingdom that doesn't explain itself to you. It dares you to piece together its tragedy. Hollow Nest was once a thriving underground civilization, until a mysterious infection began twisting its citizens into mindless husks. You arrive long after the collapse, playing as a silent wanderer whose connection to the kingdom runs far deeper than it first appears. Through broken cities, abandoned temples, and forgotten gods, you uncover a grim history involving ancient rulers, a desperate attempt to contain the infection, and a sacrifice that may not have worked. The story is told almost entirely through environmental clues, cryptic dialogue, and haunting encounters, rewarding players who pay attention and connect the dots themselves. Gameplay-wise, it's a tight, precision-focused Metroidvania with fast combat, sharp platforming, deep upgrades, and a world that constantly loops back on itself in clever ways. Skul, the Hero Slayer. Now let's flip the script and put you on the side that usually gets crushed in the opening act. This time, you're not saving the kingdom. You're fighting for the monsters. The Demon King has been captured by human heroes, and the demon army has been nearly wiped out. As one of the last survivors, a small skeleton named Skul, you set out to rescue your ruler and dismantle the so-called heroic forces that invaded demon territory. Along the way, you learn that the humans' crusade wasn't as righteous as the legends claimed. The narrative constantly reframes familiar fantasy tropes, making heroes feel unsettling and villains oddly sympathetic. Each encounter adds context to a world built on propaganda and bloodshed, with Skul slowly becoming a symbol of rebellion rather than a joke enemy. On the gameplay side, it's a fast roguelite where swapping skulls completely changes your abilities, encouraging experimentation and aggressive combat runs. Cuphead. Let's jump into something that looks cheerful but is secretly ruthless. This story begins with a terrible decision at a casino run by the devil himself. Two brothers gamble away more than they can afford, losing their souls in the process. Instead of immediate damnation, they're given a cruel deal: collect soul contracts from runaway debtors or face eternal punishment. What follows is a twisted tour through a cartoon world where every smiling character hides something monstrous. Every boss has a backstory rooted in greed, fear, or desperation, making the world feel like a cautionary tale wrapped up in rubber hose animation. The devil looms over everything, not just as a villain, but as the embodiment of temptation and consequence. The narrative never over-explains itself, letting visual storytelling and character animation do the heavy lifting. Gameplay is built around brutally precise run-and-gun and boss battles, demanding perfect timing, pattern recognition, and mastery of a deceptively simple control scheme. Trine 2. Let's slow things down and lean into fantasy storytelling with a more whimsical, fairy tale tone. This adventure follows three unlikely heroes bound together by fate once again. A knight haunted by duty, a wizard struggling with responsibility, and a thief searching for purpose are pulled into conflict involving corrupted kingdoms and ancient magic. The story unfolds across enchanted forests, ruined castles, and cursed lands, gradually revealing how power, when mishandled, can rot even the most beautiful realms. Unlike darker titles, this one leans into humor and warmth while still tackling themes of sacrifice and trust. The relationship between the three characters evolves naturally, with banter and disagreements that make them feel like real companions rather than archetypes. From a gameplay perspective, it gives us side-scrolling platforming with physics-based puzzles, requiring players to creatively combine each character's abilities, whether solo or in co-op. The Pedestrian. Now let's move into something far more abstract, where storytelling happens almost entirely without words. You play as a simple stick figure navigating pedestrian signs scattered across an empty city. As you progress, the world outside the signs starts to change. Broken infrastructure, abandoned buildings, and silent machinery suggest that something has gone terribly wrong. The story slowly emerges through environmental shifts rather than dialogue, hinting at societal collapse, automation, and humanity's disappearance. The puzzle solved reconnects fragments of this broken world, creating a quiet but powerful commentary on how systems outlive the people who build them. The lack of traditional storytelling makes every visual detail matter, encouraging you to read meaning into what isn't said. Gameplay revolves around rearranging and linking signboards to create traversable paths, mixing classic platforming with clever logic puzzles that constantly introduce new rules without overwhelming the player. Ori and the Blind Forest. Next, we're stepping into a story that hits straight in the emotions from the very first minutes. This is a tale of a dying forest, told through the bond between a guardian spirit and a fragile child of light. After a catastrophic event drains the forest of life, Ori is left alone in a world that actively resists survival. As you restore the forest's elemental cores, you uncover the pain, regret, and redemption of the creatures that once protected it. Even the antagonists are driven by grief rather than cruelty, making the narrative deeply empathetic. The story uses visual storytelling and music to convey loss and hope, without relying heavily on dialogue, creating moments that linger long after you put the controller down. Gameplay focuses on fluid platforming, graceful movement, and light combat, with abilities that emphasize agility and exploration rather than brute force. Strider. Time to shift gears into high-speed sci-fi action rooted in political rebellion. Set in a dystopian future ruled by a tyrannical regime, the story follows an elite assassin tasked with taking down a powerful dictator. As the mission unfolds, it becomes clear that this isn't just about toppling a ruler. It's about dismantling a system built on surveillance, mind control, and absolute authority. Through scattered logs and encounters, the game paints a picture of a world where resistance is nearly extinct and individuality is treated as a threat. The protagonist's identity and loyalty are tested as secrets about the organization he serves come to light. Gameplay emphasizes speed and precision, combining acrobatic platforming with fast melee combat, wall running, and fluid traversal that rewards aggressive momentum and mastery of movement. Spelunky 2. Let's talk about legacy, obsession, and the danger of curiosity. This sequel expands on its predecessor's themes by sending a new generation of explorers deep underground and eventually beyond the Earth itself. The thing that begins as a simple treasure hunt spirals into encounters with ancient civilizations, forgotten gods, and cosmic forces that dwarf human ambition. The lore is subtle but layered, revealing how greed and exploration have repeatedly led to disaster across generations. Every area hints at past expeditions that ended badly, reinforcing the idea that this world doesn't care about your intentions. From a gameplay standpoint, it's a brutally fair roguelike platformer built around systemic interactions. Every trap, enemy, and item can chain together in unpredictable ways, making knowledge and adaptability just as important as reflexes. Shovel Knight. Let's rewind a bit and celebrate a modern game that fully understands classic storytelling. This adventure follows a knight who abandoned his quest after a personal tragedy, only to return when a new evil threatens the land. You confront rival knights serving the main antagonist. Each battle doubles as a character study. These aren't just bosses, they're reflections of what Shovel Knight could become, or once was. The story balances humor with melancholy, building toward a surprisingly heartfelt conclusion centered on loss and perseverance. Gameplay plays homage to classic NES-era platformers, featuring tight controls, deliberate combat, and level design built around mastery rather than handholding. Every mechanic feels intentional, rewarding skill without sacrificing accessibility. Inside. Our next game is something that's deeply unsettling. Hunted and completely alone, a young boy moves through a world that feels hostile, controlled, and deeply unnatural. From the very first moments, Inside drops you into a silent nightmare where every shadow suggests danger, and every structure hints at something far larger happening behind the scenes. As the boy navigates forests, farms, and massive industrial facilities, it becomes clear that he is being pulled toward the heart of a disturbing experiment. The game never explains its story outright. Instead, it relies on visual storytelling, environmental clues, and haunting imagery to suggest themes of surveillance, loss of autonomy, and humanity reduced into machinery. The locations escalate the tension, gradually revealing a society obsessed with control and experimentation, culminating in one of the most unforgettable and unsettling endings in modern gaming. The lack of dialogue makes every moment feel deliberate, forcing you to interpret the world for yourself. On the gameplay side, Inside gives us precise side-scrolling movement with smart physics-based puzzles and light stealth elements. Every mechanic feels purposeful, reinforcing the atmosphere rather than distracting from it.
Mystery, full of danger and full of artistry. At stake were not just one boy's fate, but the fate of the whole moon, and the Earth, and the sun, and galaxy.
Now, let's take a sharp left turn into something theatrical, eerie, and wildly imaginative. This story unfolds on a living stage, where a young boy is transformed into a wooden puppet by a tyrannical moon bear king. Trapped in a cursed theatrical world, the boy must reclaim his stolen head and identity while navigating a twisted fairy tale that blends childhood wonder with unsettling horror. Every chapter plays out like a stage act, complete with shifting scenery and narrators who treat your suffering like entertainment. As the story progresses, themes of identity, manipulation, and control emerge beneath the playful presentation. The Moonbear King isn't just a villain. He's a symbol of authority that thrives on humiliation and spectacle. The narrative cleverly uses its theatrical framing to blur the line between performance and reality. Gameplay combines side-scrolling platforming with a unique scissor-based mechanic that lets you cut environments, enemies, and stage props, constantly reinventing how levels are approached. Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze. Alright, let's bring the energy back up with a surprisingly somber tale hiding beneath bright visuals. This time, Donkey Kong's island's paradise is invaded by the snow-mad Vikings, who freeze the land and drive its inhabitants into exile. While the story seems simple on the surface, each island reflects the consequences of displacement and survival. The Snowmads aren't mindless villains, they're conquerors seeking a new home, forcing Donkey Kong and his family to reclaim theirs piece by piece. Your journey becomes less about revenge and more about restoration, with each world showing how ecosystems and cultures crumble under invasion. Gameplay-wise, this is peak precision platforming. Momentum-based movement, layered level design, and character-specific abilities create stages that feel demanding but incredibly fair, rewarding mastery and patience. Cyber Shadow. Our next game is set in a ruined city overtaken by synthetic life forms. The story follows a lone ninja uncovering the truth behind humanity's collapse. As you progress, fragmented memories and AI transmissions reveal a world where technological advancement erased the line between salvation and extinction. The narrative explores themes of loyalty, loss, and the consequences of unchecked progress, especially through the relationship between the protagonist and his former clan. Nothing is spelled out directly. Instead, the game trusts players to piece together its lore through encounters and environments. Gameplay is sharply focused on tight combat, precision movement, drawing inspiration from classic ninja platformers. Every upgrade expands mobility and combat options, reinforcing the story's theme of reclaiming lost strength through discipline and clarity. Guacamelee, Super Turbo Championship Edition. Now for something louder, funnier, and packed with cultural flair. This story follows an ordinary luchador who dies and is resurrected to stop an ancient evil threatening both the living world and the land of the dead. Rooted deeply in Mexican folklore, the narrative blends humor with heartfelt moments, celebrating tradition while poking fun at genre cliches. As the hero travels between dimensions, the story emphasizes legacy, identity, and community, with side characters adding warmth and absurdity to the journey. What makes it stand out is how seamlessly mythological elements are woven into a modern, playful tone without losing emotional grounding. On the gameplay front, it's a vibrant mix of brawler combat and Metroidvania exploration. Wrestling moves double as traversal tools, ensuring that progression always feels physical, expressive, and deeply satisfying. Terraria. Let's zoom out into a story that doesn't guide you, and it waits for you to create it. This world begins as a blank slate, but as you explore, ancient evils, cosmic entities, and forgotten civilizations slowly reveal themselves. Through boss encounters, item descriptions, and environmental clues, you uncover a universe shaped by cycles of creation and destruction. The story isn't linear. It's reactive, responding to how deeply you dig, what you awaken, and what you choose to challenge. The deeper you go, the more the world pushes back, turning curiosity into consequence. This will give us side-scrolling exploration with crafting, combat, and base building. Its progression system transforms the world itself, unlocking harder enemies and new biomes, making every playthrough feel like a personal myth unfolding in real time.
His name was Pete. His world was grey. Until he found a friend one day.
Neversong. This game is a story about memory and denial. A young boy awakens from a coma to find his town empty and distorted. As he searches for his missing friend, the world slowly reveals itself as a psychological landscape shaped by trauma and guilt. The narrative draws inspiration from childhood fears, using surreal imagery and unsettling encounters to explore themes of abandonment and emotional repression. Every location feels symbolic, turning mundane places into haunting reflections of a fractured mind. Gameplay emphasizes exploration and light combat, but the real focus is atmosphere. Movement, music, and visual storytelling work together to create an experience that feels intimate and disturbing, without relying on shock tactics. Dadish 2. We're wrapping things up on a lighter note, but there's still heart here. This sequel continues the absurd yet oddly sincere story of a radish dad searching for his lost children. While the premise is comedic, the narrative leans into parental anxiety, responsibility, and the chaos of raising kids who keep wandering into danger. Every level introduces new characters and situations that expand the world's humor without losing emotional sincerity. The jokes land, but the underlying message about persistence and care keeps things grounded. Gameplay is classic precision platforming, with tight controls and cleverly escalating level design. The difficulty ramps up gradually, ensuring every failure feels earned and every success feels personal. These side-scrolling games are truly special because of how they make you feel. They tell a story in its own way, whether through quiet environmental details, emotional character arcs, or worlds packed with history and consequence. Together they show just how powerful this genre still is in 2025. So if you're looking for games that reward attention, skill, and curiosity, these 17 titles deserve a spot at the top of your list.